Like those ones by the projector. Oh, good. I didn't bring the tripod out for the camera.
Gonna wait and get this set up really quick and then we'll get going.
Microphone a little closer. Good. I think we're ready now.
Okay. All right, we've got 5:01. We're gonna get started with our work session. Work sessions are an opportunity for board members to discuss issues informally with staff and invited guests. The board encourages members of the public to attend work sessions and listen to the discussion, but there's generally no opportunity for public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the board are welcome to do so during the board's regularly scheduled monthly meetings. We're gonna kick it off with topics, starting with events and rolling calendar.
Yeah, so, we do this at the beginning of every meeting, notes on here again, reminder on the OGEC training. You guys can work on getting that knocked out, working to pull the agenda up on the screen here. If we've got, July 1st is our next meeting. Something I was thinking about is, a meeting tonight has a lot of going on besides the fair to talk about. If you guys were interested or thought it would be appropriate to do another meeting where we just talked about the fair sometime later this month. Maybe the week after next.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea.
You wanna plan on like Tuesday,
The 17th.
that sounds right.
When does FanFest take, when do they come, the 19th?
Uh,
When do they take precedent?
yeah, so their events that week, but
Yeah.
I think. If we did like a hybrid meeting, or at the very least, we could do our meeting up in the annex.
Okay.
We'll find someplace else here that we can do the meeting or do.
So they are in this building on the
They
17th?
they start setting up,
Okay,
they
that's
just
right.
have like tables in here.
Yeah,
We may be able to work around them and do the meeting in
I know
here.
they're gonna have dance that night,
Oh, yeah,
cause I'll be here for that.
And we just plan to have it in the annex then up there?
yeah.
Okay. Let's just plan that.
Is 5 o'clock work for everyone?
That'll be good.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
June 17th. We don't really have a lot on the monthly agenda, but I do know in October-ish, that's when the joint session is typically with the county board. We'll likely throw quite a bit of things on here with the strategic plan as we start going through that. And then the events that we have upcoming, we are deep in a lot of events. It's every weekend. There's multiple events every weekend. Highlights, a lot of graduation stuff this week, and then wedding the following week, Scandinavian Festival. Then roll into 4th of July week. We got a night show in the Civil War reenactment that weekend. And RV rally. Then we're really rolling into fair setup after that. And right after fair, it's the weekend banquets and. Do you have any questions on any of the events, let us know?
Okay. Think we're good on that then, probably. If anyone, unless anyone has anything. Move to the roof bid.
Yeah, so we have Roman Lechner and Dan Rundle with Serta here. I sent you guys the preliminary bid results. We had 5 bids and 4 of them all were kind of ballpark with each other, and then we had one low bid. And so we've been working out how to deal with that. The low bid apparently did not bid with the required specified materials, and that's why their number was so low. And so we've been trying to figure out how to deal with that. Now we sent both the lowest bidder Coastline questionnaire, which is in their responses are in here. And we also sent it to the second lowest bidder just to try to collect as much information as we could early on. And then we sent some questions to Serta based off of that, and kind of clarifying the type of membrane we specified and those details. And so, yeah, Roman and Dan are here. I don't know if you guys have something that you could jump in if you want to contribute, or you guys want to look at that a little bit and ask any questions.
So I think it would, just in order to, not spend lots and lots of time during this meeting, because we've obviously had multiple rounds of discussions and emails and correspondence regarding this matter already. So I think what might make the most sense is if there are any specific questions that the board members or you, Kyle, have that that we can answer. We're happy to maybe it makes the most sense to just do it that way.
Yeah, and so in the handouts that I gave you today, and I forwarded them to you just a few hours ago, was the responses from Serta on the questions. Basically, there's different types of membranes. This one that we specified is a KDE membrane, and the bidder bidded on a PVC membrane. And so that's where the big cost difference was. And so, it's a significant cost difference, so there was a lot of questions. And then, in Serta's response here, it's in this handout. It's basically it's a superior product, and the justification for why that was the product that was specified for this. I don't know if you want to jump into some of that explanation, Roman.
Yeah,
They're
sure.
probably
Yeah.
just seeing your responses just now.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay. I'm gonna try to kind of roll through it quickly here. So, like you alluded to earlier already, right? We specified a very specific membrane type with a very specific formulation and thickness requirements. The reason why we do that is us as, building envelope consultants and architects, and people who really work and see these types of products many times. We see that they all fail in very specific ways over time. They have, within each category, we have certain performance characteristics, lifespan expectations, and all these types of things, right? And really, the two major things that drive the performance you're going to get out of a single ply membrane is the chemistry, like what is the actual the polymers that are used to manufacture the product, and then again the thickness, and then with that also every membrane is basically manufactured with a base ply and then a reinforcing fabric and then your performance layer of that same material on top of it. So kind of the relation of the overall thickness versus that performance layer is another thing that is pretty important to consider. And why that is, why chemistry matters so much as the roof system ages and everything ages. Ultimately, you will need to do maintenance on it. You will have to do repairs. You'll have to do patches. And if you have a superior chemistry, it will allow those patches to to weld really nicely together, to fuse really well. If you have kind of the lower grade product you get, the quicker those polymers are going to break down over time, especially in challenging environments like you have out on the coast. And then, maybe 15, 20 years in, you have a product that needs to be serviced and it can't be serviced anymore just because those polymers are broken down. And like I said, long story short, we deal with this on a daily basis. So that's why on a project like yours, we felt like it warrants going with a premium product just so that you can kind of quotation mark here, get this taken care of and almost forget about it for a very long time. Obviously, there's maintenance involved, but that's kind of like the chemistry and the product aspect of things. The other thing that we find particularly important on a project like yours is every manufacturer kind of has their own unique little ways of how they service the project during construction and afterwards. And particularly while your project might not be the biggest one that is out there, right? From a pure technical execution standpoint, it's actually quite challenging. These pre-engineered metal buildings, there's a lot of things that you gotta get right 100%. There's very little room of like the margin of error is pretty small from an application and installation perspective. So specifying the right manufacturer that actually shows up on site and has a certain amount of presence and oversight over the contractors is really important. And then again, depending on the price tag, right? Manufacturers that can offer a really low price tag, the amount of service you might get from them during construction is going to differ pretty substantially from basis like other manufacturers, which is why we specified Garland in this particular case as the basis of design because we felt like it really combines both that high quality membrane with the really good oversight to make sure that once this project is done, there's basically not going to be any issues or anything left unaddressed. So that's really the gist of everything. Any questions to that, I guess? Or Dan, do you have anything to add here?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, one more thing. We do quite a bit of public work. Obviously, the things that Roman just discussed are the chemistries of this type of roof. You have KEE, which is what we specified because you're a long-term building holder. That's ketone ethylene ester. That superior chemistry is not boutique. It's not a fad. It's not something new. It's been in the marketplace since the early 1980s. Um, a lot of public clients, school districts, and the like have invested and sought out that membrane chemistry for that exact reason. It's long-term durability. PVC is kind of a middle of the road with some manufacturers blending a little bit of that fancy polymer in there, but they won't tell you how much because it's just pure marketing. At the lower end of the spectrum would be a TPO roof. The other component of this is fairness of pricing. This is the basis of design product. It's the level playing field for all of those roofers who wanted to come in and price the KEE membrane. It's a little disingenuous for a roofer to come in and put a price for a product, on a project, knowing that they can't meet the standard. There's a lot of projects where, maybe the design is a little nebulous. Maybe the roofing spec isn't authored very accurately. Maybe it's just a cut and paste. This is obviously not that situation. Our design drawings and specifications were tailor made for this project and for this client. So, having the bidders that have priced the KEE membrane be in the selection is, to us of paramount importance. In regards to Duralast itself, we have some pretty negative experiences with Duralast just from a company. We specified them years ago on a project in Astoria, Oregon, where we were the architect of record on a pretty high exposure property, coastal Oregon. It was emphasized to Duralast and their preferred applicator that this project had to be a success given all the things that this client had dealt with past consultants and past construction parties. Duralast did not come to the job site once, even after we requested they come and look at things on the job site, read our reports where we had put the contractor on notice and all sorts of things. Long story short, we have an excellent relationship with Garland. They're the basis of design product. Their field staff service these projects. They actually come to the job site. They actually document things. They work hand in hand with us, the roofing experts, and your architect of record. That is, those are the keys to success for any roofing project, and especially a project with public funds.
Thanks, Dan. So I think what we're asking you all later on in the regular meeting is, do we reject Coastline's bid because they didn't specify the correct product? And then move forward with Pacific Tech as the next lowest bidder, or do we reject all of the bids and then rebid it with a different membrane type? And so maybe that would be a good point to hit on, Dan, about the recommendation, why to go one way or the other. Because yeah, in the fairness thing, we would likely have to rebid the whole project in order to accept Coastline, to accept the Coastline bid with this product. But there is a $300,000 difference in the price.
Okay.
Roman or Dan hit on, the recommendation one way or the other based off of, that.
I think you already talked about that.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of covered that, right? At least that's what I understood.
Yeah, okay.
Saying that it was on the building, the expectation of having it not a lot of maintenance. And the company coming on site to support the project. I'm sure there was other things as well. Those are some of
Yeah.
off one sector.
Which is the path that we were heading down. It's just we've got this little bit that we have to figure out how to deal with it in the fairness piece. If we're gonna reject them, we have to have reason.
Well, and I guess on that note, prior to the pre-bid meeting, we have received a substitution request from the manufacturer, from a different contractor regarding that very specific product that is now the low bidder. I understand that this may have not been trickled. That information may have not trickled down all the way to the actual low bidder, like Coastline. But even prior to the pre-bid meeting, we issued a formal statement, basically outlining that this product deviates from the standards that are outlined within our specifications, and we rejected that product before it even got bid out.
Yeah, this comes up quite a bit on our school district work as well. I mean, from where we're sitting, we wrote a substitution response letter, which is exactly what Roman just outlined here. The bid with the Duralast membrane is, in our opinion, it's not even a valid bid. It doesn't meet the requirements of the project. So our project requirements are based on the roofing spec and the details. Those are the project documents in which the roofers are pricing the project. It'd be no different than any other project where we had, this type of window specified, or this type of air barrier specified, or this type of sophisticated below grade waterproofing specified. If the standard requires X and somebody comes in and said, oh, I can give you Y for a significant, cost reduction, it doesn't matter because the project documents have already stipulated what the standard is. And the standard is a ketone ethylene ester membrane, which all the other contractors have priced. So in my opinion, the Duralast bid it's not even a valid bid. When we rejected their substitution request for substitution.
Yeah, just a little clarity for the board. Before the pre-bid meeting, Dr. Roof, the contractor, Dr. Roof, sent a request and we issued them this memo, and then they didn't even show up to the pre-bid because they hadn't received it. And then we did send a memo an addenda to all of the bidders that said there's no pre-approved substitutions, and then Coastline still submitted this with a different membrane.
Okay, so as I see it, if particular bid should be disqualified anyhow, because it doesn't meet the standards.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any problems with that.
Okay, so do we,
Yeah, this will be an
Yeah, in the
item
regular
in the regular meeting to make a decision on the bids, and depending on what you guys vote on, we will move forward with an intent to award.
okay, so we are good to move on to the next item then, unless anyone has questions? Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we have rental policy next.
Yeah, so. Yeah, we had the neighborhood meeting, we heard the feedback from the neighbors about our event. We received a complaint immediately after our deal, and so. This is some time to talk with the board about direction on you guys wanna go for some. Policy changes to have better enforcement on that issue. Things to consider are. Requiring them to pay for security, that's here and keeping tabs on the sound, not allowing any sound after 10 p.m. Or any music at all after 10 p.m. Which that's what the current rental agreement says, is the music ends at 10 p.m. Additional deposits, really any other things that you guys have in mind. I know I had intended to work on some additional drafts leading up to this meeting, but I didn't have time to work on all the other, especially with this group stuff, it's been taking quite a bit of time.
What if we were
So
to
if we
do,
can have a conversation about, what direction you want to go, we can work on some draft policies, or if you have something specific you want me to implement now, then we'll start doing that.
what if we were to do some sort of like deposit type of situation where if there isn't a complaint or the sheriffs get called or something like that, they don't get their refund back. But if there is no issue, then they do, and it's fine. But we're very clear with them that like, hey, music stops at 10. If there is a complaint filed or police called, this is a refund or this is a thing that would not be refunded type of situation.
I think doing a deposit, because right now, the only deposit that has been in place since before I was here is the deposit for the kitchen. I think that's definitely something that we should have, is the deposit that's one of the things, out of many things that they could have that would mean that they don't get their deposit back. But the two issues that you have related to that is some folks would just look at that as a cost of their rental.
Yep, and that's what so I have it written down here. I've been talking to some of the neighbors. So kind of seems like what maybe they would like to see is the deposit, like you were saying, is step one. Step two, so okay, if they're gonna see it unfortunately as cost of the rental, hey, we have to pay $700 if we're loud. Well, too late now we're gonna be as loud as we want. So then it can be like removal, by the sheriff or whatever, and not welcome back, or at least not welcome back on the grounds, or whatever has to build up to that. But also, it seemed like one of the biggest issues with the neighbors wasn't the no noise at all after 10, or even no music at all after 10. It's just when the music has a lot of bass, the insulation of the walls here doesn't keep it in, and then people will open doors when they shouldn't, after 10 o'clock at night. And then it's like they're saying we can tell when the door's open, not only because we can see the doors open because we're the neighbors, but also because it goes from something we can hardly notice to just loud. And then it's after 10 o'clock and nothing can be done about it.
And connected with all that, like, wow, yes, they lose their deposit, and their event should still be ended. And so who's here to keep track of that? Like, if they violated it and they've lost their deposit, their event should still be, it's over now. Broken policy, your event's done.
Can you talk a little bit about what you're thinking from security on site?
And so what I would think with that, and so that's a whole conversation where we have to decide like what events would require the security and how many security people they would need, but it's one of those things, your event's gonna have music, you're gonna be here after 10 p.m. Your event has alcohol, some of those types of those checkboxes, if you have this, then you need security, and then we get the quote where we have a flat rate that we already know per person, like, you need 6 security people for 8 hours. We know what that's gonna cost. We add that onto their rental agreement. It's basically a pass through. They're paying us, we're paying the security people. And then they're here and they're our agent and they can say, okay, you fix you out.
You said that, so we supply security, you were saying they just have to pay for it.
They would have to pay for
Okay,
it. Yeah,
perfect.
they,
That's
it
what I
would be something that we wouldn't charge events if they didn't have security requirements. So it'd be like an add-on.
Because it seems like that would be the most proactive approach. Where instead of them coming back and saying, oh, well, we weren't really that loud, or our deposit back, or making the neighbors take that step to call in a complaint.
Right.
By having a security on site for those potential events that could be a potential challenge. It seems like that's a proactive approach.
And it's pretty typical, right? It's pretty typical in the industry that you have
I agree with
somebody here that is our agent
Yeah.
for these large events.
Yeah.
But it's just, again, figuring out when. It's like, if we have a group doing a banquet dinner for their business foundation, like, do they need to have it? We have a baby shower or something like
Most
that.
can get
Does that
rowdy.
need it? Right, I mean, and some of them could, and so it's like, when does it
Right, there
actually
is-
need to have it versus when it doesn't, and having that be clear to them, black and white.
I would imagine it'd be by the number of people that are gonna
Yeah.
be attending if they have an idea.
Well, and to like time frame, like
Exactly.
if you're having a wedding during the day and you're, getting married at 10 o'clock in the morning and your reception's in the afternoon and you're out of here by 8, then no, I don't think you need one.
Right.
You're having, some other party where you're in here past 10 o'clock, then
That's 9 o'clock.
absolutely. Yeah, or 9 o'clock, yeah. You have someone come in at 9 o'clock and that's when that kicks in, because otherwise, if you are paying for a security person or 3 or whatever for an 8-hour stint of time, when it's not previously, correct, it's not previously been an issue before this time,
Yeah.
at night, then that kind of seems silly.
Yeah.
So if we just say, okay, if your event is planned to go past 9 o'clock, then there will be, you have to have this many security people, this is the cost of it for however many people you plan on having here.
So if you have X amount of people, so 100 maybe, I don't know, does that sound?
I think-
There's maybe a little research for this.
Yeah, we can do a little bit of research on that.
I think it's not the amount of people, I think it's what the type of it is. I think number one, I don't feel comfortable not having somebody from here at an event that's here to midnight.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what's gonna go out the door, we don't know what's going on, we don't, and it's our liability.
There's
I
been-
don't expect you to be here because, you're, so we have to look at something like that, but I think that number one, we should charge a deposit on everybody.
Yeah.
Okay? That way we're not showing favorites, but if it's anything after 8 or 9 o'clock, again, if it's a bingo, they're not gonna have live music, then we probably don't need security. But if it's anything that has dancing, it's gonna have a rave, gonna have a car show, it's gonna be going on to midnight with, music. We've gotta have that security here.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't feel good because the liability lies on the fair board. If something goes wrong and somebody gets hurt, we don't have anybody here.
And we don't know what happened.
And then they're shooting after us and all of a sudden we've got the county on our case about why we're not doing this. And I think we have to take a stand on this and start, planning for this, even if we just put a maintenance person that's working here. For $15 an hour.
Yeah.
Instead of a security guy. I think we need somebody here anytime we don't have we should have somebody here all the time when we don't have when we have somebody going on.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have to pay for, they should be paying for it.
The security, they will have a 4-hour minimum. So no matter what, if they gotta come out, they're gonna be under 4 hours, no matter what. The other thing that they would probably, depending on the events, insist on some level of service themselves. Like, if it's gonna be a rowdy event, they're not gonna want one person here by themselves.
Yeah, it would have to be a minimum of 2,
Yeah.
at least 2 to 6.
So depending on the type of event and the number of people that are there, if they have alcohol or not, things like that. And there are other issues besides just the music that have come up. It would be good to have somebody here. We've had issues in the garden where from plants have gotten messed up. We've had broken glass in the arena. So, having somebody watching everything indoors and out would be an appropriate operation plan for us.
I think the only other thing, other complaint I heard was sometimes they have animals in the campgrounds and they let them loose,
Dogs,
dogs.
yeah.
And so I think that that's something we need to address in the camping. I don't think we need to have security there, but
Yeah. And the campings, especially the dogs, usually it's an event and they're supposed to be monitoring their people during. those
we know
camping
everybody's dog is well behaved.
events. Right, yeah. So I think we've got some good direction from you
Yeah.
guys.
Do you have any idea? Any companies you get us numbers on?
We have a contract with PCB now for security.
So do we have to use them then?
We wouldn't necessarily have to. I mean, we could do another solicitation thing, but we can add this on to what they're doing now. But what I think I know based off of the process we went through to hire them in the first place is that they are an event security company. And so their prices are really majority, they're more like event staff prices. They do have DPST certified people, armed guards that you can hire as well. They're our contract with them. But the other typical security company was like 3 times the price.
Okay, I was only asking because let's say someone's doing an event and they're not available,
Yeah,
it'd be nice if there was another option,
it sounded like based off the conversation with them, like if this was something that we were gonna be doing towards, that they would work on recruiting local people that.
Okay.
Area. Right now, when we do events, they're bringing them in because we're doing, we're using them for our events. And they work with our beverage service company also. They do. I mean, the beverage service company will work with any security company, but since they already work our facility, they typically just call them and do it. But I think we have 2 more years on that deal with them, and I mean, we've been really happy with them. They have a lot of experience in the industry.
Let's nip it in the bud and get some numbers in.
And
Yeah.
Cost to
we
get-
have a price sheet from them. Without fumbling through my emails right now, I can forward it to you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe moving forward, what you can work on is doing some sort of deposit, figuring out what the deposit would be. And what that would look like. I think that for the event piece of it, we need to just look at the timeframes of it, how long they're expecting to go. Because even like the OHA banquet and all of that, those kind of things, it's not a bad idea. They aren't normally, a big rowdy group from, it can be, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to have someone here for those ones when they go later like that.
And
So-
you wanna have a uniform.
Yeah, what we don't wanna do is say, well, this event would need it, this event wouldn't, because you could get yourself in some hot water with that type of situation.
So, just to circle back onto a separate point before we're moving on, so we've already issued a letter to the next event that's coming up and telling them, look, this is serious. It's always said 10 PM. I realize that's different from what's happened in the past. But that word is spread, right? Like, all these other people already have events booked, they already have signed agreements, so it's requiring them now to provide security.
Yeah,
That's already in place, it's gonna be touchy.
I don't think that's something we needed to do.
But the other part of that too is some of the feedback I have from them is like, we can be quieter, like, we can do just the instruments after 10 PM. Instead of saying no music at all, we're not using the amplified music anymore, we're not using the sound system to do our thing. They said maybe that would be an option, and I'm like, it's something to look into, but what if it's not? And then.
Yeah,
it's
but
too
who's
late.
gonna make sure
Back
they
to
do
Mary
that?
Jo's point, right? That's a reactive response that's just gonna continue to make me mad.
I think we need to have one uniform policy. And policy is no loud music after 10 o'clock. And if they want to take it, we get a complaint or the sheriff gets called, they lose their deposit.
And their event ends.
So I mean, it's very simple and they have to be just told upfront with everybody.
Okay,
Okay, I mean, I think this is a good conversation for us. We definitely coming in here, it's like, we've been doing festivals. And what we've been doing is the way I understand things have happened out here for a long time. It's good for us to have a discussion about updating this policy. We'll take these notes and put together some drafts. And then we'll bring it back to you guys, and if you wanna, if that's not what you meant, then we can have that conversation about that wording. And get
Perfect.
something on the books.
Sounds good. All right, anyone else have anything on that? Okay. Next one.
It's cut policy.
Okay, yeah. The
Yeah.
conditional use permit,
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
so we had the neighborhood meeting, basically since we've had that meeting, we haven't done anything else, right? We're just kind of waiting to have a follow-up conversation with you all about the direction that we wanna go. I think what my recommendation would be is, we need to talk with planning about our application fees. We're gonna be going through this strategic plan. There's no urgency because the urgency was literally to do something at the fair. We're heavy in the fair now, and we're short staffed. So, pushing this off till after the fair and having another discussion about, well, how we want to proceed with this whole thing, I think. It would have been good to know some of these things as we were doing the strategic plan, because it's gonna change what some of our goals will be. But that being said, we can have those as goals, if they're doable or not, we'll just have to spend a little bit of time having that conversation. But it would be good now, at least, to have at least some kind of conversation on that meeting, since it was fresh. You guys have any initial thoughts, or if you wanna do something else? It's what you guys wanna do.
Well, I think there's two aspects to this. One is related to the potential changing of the agreements for the rentals. And maybe making sure that we loop back with the neighbors and provide an update of the plan direction. And for any future contracts starting on this date, those types of things. And it may be, just proactively getting them even a higher level of like, here's our overall plan, and then we'll give them more details later. So I think that's one item, because you're already taking care of that. I think, the fact you mentioned that camping's only for events, as I understand. I mean, that's a big shift, which is really important element where we're just not having, one or two people, I don't know.
Yeah, so, this, to come on that, we have put a pause basically on booking any other events or events, campers that are not part of an event. We do have a few of them that are still, they've already have reservations, so we're still honoring those. And so if camping, then we won't book anymore, but we've already paused any new ones coming in until we sort through this.
How often do we get, intermittent campers?
I'd say 5 or 6 a month, maybe,
For how long?
most of the year.
No, but how?
Oh, usually a night or two. No.
I personally see no reason why we can't.
We had a problem with people that stayed longer. We had a lady that had dogs that came and went. We had another guy who. They said it's now using that microphone, but Roman seemed like he could hear us, so that's good. But generally, no, we haven't had issues with them. In general, yeah, we've had an exception with like the dog lady.
You're always gonna have
That
exceptions.
But, the people that come for one night or 2 nights, we've never had any problems with those people.
I don't see why we couldn't just continue.
Well, I think that there was a concern from the neighbors, first of all, and also there's a risk that you have people here camping while someone else is renting the facilities. And I think that's kind of where it could be, potentially could be problems, or it's more likely to be a problem if it's just random person as opposed to part of the overall group.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can obviously dive into that some more.
I mean, if somebody's renting the entire facility or has a significant event that's using the majority of the facility, we black those out already. But if you're just it's like, if you're just renting this space, we rent out the dairy barn and the annex to separate groups using the property at the same time. But I think like the main issue is it does say in our conditional use permit that it is as part of an event or an event itself. So that's really where we're kind of in this hole where if we allow it, we're not honoring our use permit and our whole goal is to be above the board on everything. That's what we, you know,
And what you're doing is the right thing.
yeah. Something that I had thought about just in the last few weeks was even if it was just focusing on more camping events, particularly, those are actually really profitable events for us with very little manpower and associated with them. And so even having this one vintage RV rally that's coming up this year, it's the first time we've come here this year, that may make up for all of the other individual camping that we had over the last several years. If we could book one or two more of those throughout the year, that could be a much better way of approaching our camping and still using our camping facilities. Yep.
Next year, the guys that do the antique military is taking the Lewis and Clark Trail, 50 old Jeeps. And I think there's Fort Stevens. I may see if they want to
Yeah,
switch
start to
over.
recruit. And if we start marketing and promoting towards that piece of business, looking into like the camping magazines and those types of things, we got to be clear that it's not individual camping because you get into those camping magazines and people really plan for one day things, but if the ads like have a rally or have a whatever.
Okay.
Camping was one of the issues, that noise was another issue. There's other things from that meeting you guys want to talk about?
Well, just the dust from the big truck.
Yeah, I did put that on my fair notes to, get the water truck out here, and we really need to water some other spots as well. The path turns in and out, the gravel up here, there's more than just that spot that should be watered during the
I think
fair.
they were the three main issues.
And the other one too, that more than one of them brought up is if you open up this can of worms, it could be very detrimental to
Yeah.
not only us, but the neighbors.
It connected with that, I did send you guys those floodplain map updates. We still really don't know what that means, because we don't know what the new requirements are gonna be. I did have a conversation with our wetland consultant, which I talked about that during my manager's update, but his response was basically, if your car doesn't sink in when you drive, you're good to drive in. You're good to park on there. It's like, you're not digging, you're not filling. It's like, but if you can physically drive on it, then you can do that.
But wasn't rock brought out there down in the lower
I
field?
mean, maybe in the past, but not since I've been here.
Right.
Oh, you mean like for the road over there? Yeah. Yeah, that's a, but if that is.
But it's important.
Then that's what it is.
So for our regular session, we're gonna have a conversation as to whether or not we're gonna have you look to see if the county would let us pause without losing the fee.
Yeah, and how long of a time frame that looks like.
Yeah.
I don't know, Jay, do you have any kind of insight on that?
Do you want me to speak at this point? I can.
If you can, yes.
What we would take is a request from the Fair Board either to do a refund of the original fund or an extension where we can simply carry it through to cover those costs. And that's something that Gail has the authority to work on. So,
Okay.
Awesome.
yeah.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna kind of circle around back on that here in a little bit. So are we okay to move down to the fair schedule? Nice.
Yeah, just trying to think here, so. Where we were just gonna basically pause this until after the fair.
Yeah,
There.
I would say so.
Well, as far as the cup, so we should have the discussion during the board meeting, because if there is the opportunity to get a refund. And just say, if that's an opportunity, instead of working on it now, going through the strategic plan and as part of that, determine which elements you need to address.
Okay.
I think that's an option for us to consider.
Okay, I do not have that on the agenda, but we can add it. To the agenda.
I mean, it's also an opportunity for you to get clarification as to whether or not a refund's an option before we put it on the agenda.
Okay, so the next meeting.
Yeah.
I don't think we should put it off very much longer. I think we need to know what we can do, because I think we need to move forward on both, use permit and using it. So, we need to.
We have a
without
meeting in
additional
2
use
weeks.
report permit, we don't know what we can add in our strategic plan legally. So we need one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, there are things like the setback that are changing where we would potentially do improvements and.
So I think we need one and the other together. They kind of work hand in hand, otherwise why spend the money on the strategic plan until we have the other one?
So what I will do is I will look into the refund extension stuff, and then we'll put this on the next meeting's agenda.
Then that 2 weeks from now.
Or the one, 2 weeks from now is about,
Yeah.
just be like a work session.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'd move it to July.
July, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we talked at the last meeting about the fair board during the fair, and short of us spending the effort to like build this online application in our event software, we put together the spreadsheet that started off with kind of a first go at it before we spend the time to build something that we end up not using. And so we put together, a rough idea of what this would look like. And, we'll likely have 2 more members here by the time of the fair as well, so we'll have to be thinking into that, but Tuesday is fair setup day. Someone to help with the vendors setup, someone to help with the activities setup, somebody that's just kind of floating. And then that's like a morning shift, which that's when it's gonna be heavier, so that's when we put like the 3 in there. And then the afternoon is, 2 of the same shifts, just working with the vendors and stuff that are coming in later. And it's basically, I don't really anticipate a lot that has to be done, but it's being available and supporting them as it comes in. Figuring out the power and where they sit and how to get them into their spot is something that we should have in advance. But when it all comes together, things change. Wednesday is the first part of the fair, so instead of setting up, it's the same thing, just kind of supporting those deals. We do also have some activities that we're doing that we're gonna need volunteers at, so we're supporting those volunteers as well. Thought was basically, right now we have 5 members, so 2 people at any given time, and then somebody here in the busier part of the day at night, an extra person. And also only having 5 spots, if there's 7 members, that's where not everybody's necessarily going to be available every day. So not expecting your set of people to be here for every hour of the fair.
So for your planning, I've taken Thursday, Friday, Saturday off.
Okay.
So I'll be here all day from early morning to close.
Okay. And so once we get this dialed in here with some feedback from you all tonight, hopefully, we'll send this out, start sending them through.
You can just put me in and just on those 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever you need to be put in, I'll be here the whole day. Bring my little electric cart and move around.
Okay, Thursday, Friday. Rolling into Thursday, the concert load in is the additional stuff. This is a little fluid right now. We do need some run of show information from Romeo about when the stagehands need to show up and setting up the fences and the panels and all that. We've got a rough idea. It's gonna start midday, noon, 11-ish.
Which activity was this?
Setting up the concert.
Oh, concert.
Yeah. And it's more than just setting up the stage and the production, it's also setting up the visitor and the spectator areas and all of that. So Romeo's really gonna be heavy on the stage load in, the stage hands, sound rolling in, catering rolling in, and getting all of those services set up for them. And I can send you guys the draft of their schedule from last year, and the last 2 years even. And we should be getting something from them soon. We're 2 months out from the fair. we'll get really concrete stuff from them 3 weeks out from the fair. Last year, I wanna say we were pretty much wrapped up though around 6 or 7 o'clock at night.
It was daylight.
Right, on Thursday with the set. Which was good, cause I've heard stories from the past where it was 2 or 3 a.m. before they got all that stuff set up. We don't have to do as big of a cleanup on Friday night, but there is some cleanup after the concert that needs to be done. With, getting the admission part torn down and trash pickup, that's really one of the big things. Just getting the area ready for the car show, cause the car show starts rolling and it's Saturday.
A lot of times we'll have a lot of good 4-H kids will jump in and help out too, which saves a lot of time.
Yeah. And then, we don't have to tear down all of the sound and light stuff on Friday night because we're doing the second show, but then Saturday night afterwards, we'll have to tear it down. So any help getting as much needs to be gotten out of the way for the sound and light to get out of there. And picking up trash is really what we need to do. We don't have to get everything perfect, because when we come back to regular hours the next week, we can clean up the rest of it, but we've got to do enough to get the vendors out on Saturday night. We usually find other volunteers that stay very late. We hire temps as well.
But I wasn't here on the last meeting. Was this something that we voted on, or what was this?
We brought up a draft of it and just discussed, it wasn't really in a schedule format. It was more like, these are the types of things that we'll need the fair board to help with.
Or I wasn't there when we talked about this, I mean,
No, you weren't here at the last meeting at all.
okay, yeah.
You had a no heat or a dead
Oh, I
freezer or
heard
something.
freezer, yeah.
The next page has a like description of all this. That's what we talked about. Specifically.
Something that got voted on, or what was it?
We didn't, I don't think we voted on it. It was a conversation.
We said, we would discuss it basically every meeting moving forward. We're starting the conversation, getting the idea in your guys' head about, what are you actually going to be doing during the fair? And then continue to build on this. We discussed creating a sign up schedule. Said when Chris and I were talking in the office about what's that look like and getting it set up, it does take quite a bit of work to put it into the software. So without getting it a little bit more dialed in and having another conversation, we didn't want to build out of that.
Would this mean like from 11 to 4, all of the retail food vendors would have my phone number if I'm on call, or what's?
No, and so like during the fair, it's really just like checking on them, making sure that they're doing good. If they have concerns, getting feedback from them.
I think that, well, the premises is what we all applied for this role was the understanding that we worked the fair, the week of fair. And so we're going with that premise, and then like Kyle said, was there's 5 slots with 7 people potentially, recognizing that not everybody's gonna be able to be here every day.
So basically, you're not tied down to one thing every day. It's you're gonna kind of roam around. There'll be different things that you can check in on. Like what I normally try to do is I go to try to check in on all the vendors kind of throughout the day. Not any given specific time. I think having that time frame between 12 and 4, like you maybe go check on them twice within that time frame. Just like, hey, want to check in? Everything's working well. How you doing? Good, awesome. They might say, oh, I need this, and then we can reach out and either get it for them or figure something out for them.
Checking with us in the office on things that are coming up, and we can give you the help with.
You're like,
Joel, there's on page 50, there's a kind of a little bit of descriptions for fair board schedules on it.
Right.
And then,
Everybody said.
one of the good goals, especially, being the first time for most of you through the fair, is, seeing how the fair goes down on that Saturday, we go for it, but also like getting that feedback from people during it on how we can improve the fair for the next year. Getting ideas from folks and coming up with ideas as hearing from the vendors and the guests, things like that.
So, do we know how many Job Corps helpers we're gonna have?
0.
Okay. Why is that so funny? I don't know.
Job Corps shut down.
Shut down.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. So we're not gonna have any of those.
I will get into that a little in my update here.
There still is a little bit of a chance. But it's
Maybe,
very
like-
slim and none, but
We can wave some pixie dust.
yeah, so like our seasonal worker was here from Job Corps and they're moving everybody off center by the end of the week.
Okay,
So there won't be any students around.
that was gonna be my next question. Are we like in charge of this person? And if they do something bad, but I guess.
You know, the big thing that it's going to affect us is the plan was to have them help with the inflatables. We're only getting the 2 inflatables this year to be supervised, and we are hiring them to have one person here from the company. So even if we just have to find one volunteer for each shift through the fair to cover helping with the inflatables, is gonna hopefully be at least doable.
You're fine.
Where
There might be some opportunity with different groups too. I can reach out to like the wrestling club that needs probably funds. OSET would probably be happy to. Most of the OSET kids might have a couple animals here, but they're not bringing their horses because they don't
Yeah.
necessarily do 4-H. So that might be,
Even sports teams like.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like the wrestling clubs and soccer. Yeah, classics.
Do the campground.
Yeah.
So things like that.
So all-
300 hours they do it.
It's like no turns.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, exactly that. So
Uh,
I'll reach out to a couple and see if we want to do that.
yeah, and you know, at this meeting that we'll have 2 weeks, I'll definitely have like our activities lined out more in a clear list. Like all of our meetings we've had in the past have been a lot of, we've got this, but we could do this and this and this and this and this. At this point, what I'll give you is this is what we have. And that's gonna help us really dial in what our volunteer needs are. But getting the seed started with some groups would be good. I know that Kiwanis is interested in doing some stuff. One of the benefits of Drop Tour was that all we had to do was feed them. So we'll have to look at what our available funds are to make
Yeah.
donations.
I think that's a
But
total
there-
possibility. So what I'll do is I'll talk to them and then we'll bring it back to our meeting in 2 weeks and kind of come together and figure out what we have available, what we need help with, and then identify who would be best to fit those roles in those clubs.
again, just my recurring theme is we giving a lot of free stuff to a lot of free groups. Let's
Yeah.
reach out to them and see if they can help us in our time of need.
Yeah,
Okay, so we are at 5:58 right now. We've got 5 minutes on the calendar for catering. So you wanna touch on that and then,
yeah. So, you know, the direction was to go with barbecue. We have gotten bids from 3 catering firms. We have Whitecap, who has done the fair the last 2 years. All this stuff is in handouts because it's been coming in this week, well, after I did the packet. It's all, I'm really just reading this because now we've got these things. $22 a person. Adjust forces. About $8 off their minimum price for 600 people. You're saying like Hawaiian rolls with butter, creamy apple vinegar coleslaw.
This one doesn't have a name on it though.
That one is Rob.
Okay.
Yeah. Who's that Rob? Pulled pork with barbecue sauce and can add barbecue chicken as a second entree for $2 or more. Ribs by Rob. It's got a choice of one of these proteins, either barbecue pork ribs, pulled pork sliders, or prime rib. Oh, and he's saying $17 to $22, depending on the protein option. Don't really know Rob's here.
Oh, yeah, Rob.
If he knows what the difference is for the 17 to the 22 on the different proteins. Barbecue baked beans, coleslaw, mac salad, a dessert, which is cookies or brownie. Rolls. Beverages are optional. Yeah, we do provide bottled water over there for them all, and then they're buying beverages.
Are we trying to make a decision on this right now, or can we decide on this at the next meeting?
At this point, I think you could probably wait for the next meeting, but also knowing that, we have three folks here that are willing to go, that they may or may not be available by the time of the
Yeah.
next meeting. But I guess if that's the case, that makes some of that decisions for you.
Yeah, there's a few things I want to kind of pencil out a little bit. So I would prefer to make the decision at the next meeting.
Okay.
On the 17th.
Okay, we can bring this back to you on the 17th.
I'm ready now, but I'm fine with waiting too, as long as that's okay with the caterers, and they're still gonna be available if we don't book now.
I'll just reach out to them all and let them know, and if that's an issue, I'll let you know.
All right
Okay,
then.
and if it is, then we could do a vote via email if we need to, but
Yeah, or have a special meeting or something.
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Good. That'll work for me.
Okay.
Take a quick break, or you ready to roll?
You guys want to do a break or we want to just get started? 6:01.
I'd like to get a little bit of caffeine if possible.
Okay.
Thank you. By the way, when needs a break then?
I'll go.
Have you in the bathroom too. Yeah, we go to different.
Our regular meeting, it is 6:07. We have roll call. I believe we've got everyone here.
Yeah. just Point out, I know I didn't say it earlier, but Jay and the planning department is here. We're gonna be talking about the strategic plan. And then Anthony is here as well. Especially we're going through the rental agreement and the roof stuff. If any questions came up that we needed in here for us.
Perfect. Okay, so we will move on to the agenda approval. If anyone wants to make a motion,
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, MJ second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. We have public comment. At this time, anyone wishing to address the Fair Board concerning items of interest on or off the agenda may do so. The person addressing the Fair Board will, when recognized, give their name and address for the record. All remarks will be addressed to the whole board and limited to 3 minutes per person. Fair Board members reserve the right to delay any action, if required, until such time when they are fully informed and the matter is scheduled as an agenda item. Do we have anyone for public comment?
Wes Holt, who's in?
That's okay. Go ahead, Wes.
1769 Southeast Second Street, Astoria. So, doing the Pinewood Derby thing, which we got 120 of the kids. And I got 5 kids from the high school to work with me on their senior project. And then this week I found out that Erica from Job Corps will be no longer available to do the workshops during the week. So if anyone's got any great ideas for the week, that'd be wonderful.
What kind of workshop?
Put these kids together.
Oh, to put them together?
Yes.
It's the Job Corps usually had here and they do different workshops every day. In the past, it would be like, I think they would do like a Lego day, and it would be like a birdhouse day.
Oh, yeah.
And they would do these activities, but we had talked with them about doing these Pinewood Derby cars as part of it.
You know what, there's a youth entrepreneur thing that they sponsor. That's at the Sunday market. I mean, talk to them, the age group of some of these guys, they're in their early teens to mid-teens.
Is that the 4-H group that you're talking about?
Yeah.
It's called Biz Kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the 4-H. Yeah.
They will have a booth. They're already.
Yep. So, but I mean, I don't know if there's any of the Boy Scout troops or anything, if they've been involved before.
My whole thing about that is I don't want to limit it to just boys
Yeah.
kind of thing. So I'm afraid if we go that route, then people might get the idea that they can't do it because of.
Well, they're Scouting USA now is what it's called,
Oh,
and they do accept women.
Are they,
oh,
but are you looking for a group to maybe just help with kids coming in to help construct it?
yes, just to kind of guide it through.
Yeah, so I don't know that you would have to necessarily say that that's, who is doing it, where it's gonna limit the people who are coming over to do it.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking as like a group that might benefit from helping and being here to do that
Yeah,
might be an
I'm
option.
all for that. I wanna make sure everyone, I don't care age group
Mhm.
or boy, girl. I mean, I think it'd be cool to have a dad or a mom with their kid put one together. And
Yeah.
there should be plenty of them.
And with Job Corps was gonna be here all week, and they were gonna be doing different workshops every day, and that was only gonna be part of what they did, I think.
Yeah,
So we're not necessarily looking for a group to come in here for 4 days, but if we could get a group to come in here 1 or 2 days. Would be nice. I mean, Saturday is probably not as important because they need to be ready for Saturday.
Yeah, exactly.
So Home Depot once a month does a kids kit thing and the employees volunteer to do that. Have you considered talking to the manager at Home Depot and see if you can get somebody to volunteer to do an afternoon here?
Well, I actually just got confirmation today, of the situation.
Yeah.
So it's all real fresh for me.
yeah,
Well, I'm just giving you an idea.
Yeah, no, I appreciate
Somebody
it.
that might do it.
And that was kind of my whole idea anyways, was modeled around what Home Depot does, because they're pretty full.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a real active program that they got going on, which I think is wonderful. You know?
awesome. Okay, Well, yeah, if you need any help or anything with
Yes.
figuring out groups, yeah,
That's what
I'll
he
send
said.
you, I'll send you some other ideas from what we were just talking about. So that's awesome. Thank you. All right. We got someone back there.
Robert Wirt, 1060 Russell Drive, Hammond, Oregon. So I own Ribs by Raw, kind of do it part-time, full-time, because I do work full-time somewhere else. But on the bid, it was kind of a weird bid because we were, like, if I bid weddings or graduations or whatever, hey, this is what we want, A, B, C, and D, give us a price for that. So I put down an option. The $17 would be like the pork sliders, because the pork is a cheaper option. The $22 plate would be prime rib skewers, not like chunks of meat, because we've done the VIP 2 years in a row a few years back. So I know a lot, there's no tables back there, some of the tall, like 2-3 person tables. So everything's kind of handheld eat. And everything's subject to change too. The only thing that we changed the total amount is if you added more people at the end of the, right before the concert. Like happened one year, they added 250 people at 9 a.m. on Friday. And that was quite something to figure that out. But so everything's, if you guys didn't want the beans, everything's pre-portioned, so it's an easy cup to grab and it's quick. We can get most of the VIP through within 35-45 minutes with that amount of people that are in there. So if anybody had any questions, like I said, everything's up for change, and no change order cost, anything like that. If you guys wanted, the chicken instead of pulled pork or something like that. So just wanted to explain that a little bit.
Thank you. I have a quick question on your bid. Is Gratitude involved in any of that, or is that gonna be on top of that as well?
I kind of leave that up to you. If you guys, it's not up for me to, I'll give you an instance. Seaside Hospital will, we have them quite often. Sometimes they tip us, sometimes they don't. We do a local hospital, and they say because of the status in Washington, I have to give them a gratuity, a percentage. I have to provide that in the thing.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, I don't want to admit it, but I'm getting to the old school part in my life. But if we do a good job, you guys give us a tip, a gratuity, that's great. If we don't do a good job, then you don't think we deserve a tip, that's fine too. There's room for improvement. So that's kind of how I operate.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
About timeline. When would you need to know by to be able to get this set up?
The sooner the better, because there's a lot of staff to hire, extra staff, because I also will have our food booth. One year I shut down because we had some people back out because they thought they were going to get tip money up there at the VIP tent.
Oh,
So I had to shut down my booth, and we lost about $2,500 that night in sales, which is not okay, but we took care of the VIP and then reopened, because we actually get really busy at the end of the concert and everybody's coming by. People have been drinking, people just want food, and ribs, as we say on the street, meat slinging. So the sooner the better, because that's a lot of prep to do. I mean, I have an event end of September, and I'm already hours and hours and dollars into the event out here for end of September. And that's 3-4 months away. So there's a lot, especially 600 people to feed. There's
So, and then the other thing I had a question on too, I guess, to bring up when you say staffing, is getting the staffing hired and everything. That's not included in this. On the back end, it says add-ons.
That's all my staff's included, but if you wanted extra people to make sure that, because one year, there were 750, we ended up, we fed up there, nobody was doing garbages, and so I pulled some of my other people to get up there, get garbages picked up against the fence at least, because it was just overflowing, in the VIP section. And we don't need to get into that, but
Yeah.
some other issues going on that
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys are all aware of it. So that's if you guys wanted, extra people for like that, all the servers, everything else, that's all included within the bid. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because this says 150 per staff, 1 per 50 to 75 recommended. So that's just the
Yeah.
extra.
That would be just for the extra people.
Okay.
So.
We shouldn't need that. We'll have people covering those things.
Yeah.
Is that Trisette?
Yeah, no, I remember that, but I just wanted to make sure that that's what that was. Okay, thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Okay.
Question about public comment. We've all publicly commented before, but do we need to do it officially here? What we've said before about some of the stuff we talked about?
I'm not sure what you're
On the
asking. I'm sorry,
neighborhood
Jen. Do you want to say something again?
Well, it looks like
Or-
you're talking about the strategic plan and some of the rules and stuff that we've talked about. Do we need to be on record at this meeting, or have we already sufficiently done what we need to do to be on record for what we object to with?
At the neighborhood meeting, we all were here. Was that recorded and is that?
Yes,
official?
every single meeting
So
is
we don't
recorded,
need to go over that again until we have another.
not unless you want to.
No, I just thought that sometimes public comment, you have to reiterate what you've said before during a public comment period. So I wanted to make sure that that was not the case.
So
I wouldn't think so.
during our work session, we did talk a little bit about, you know, where we were gonna go. We talked about basically that we're gonna have some conversation with planning about our application fee and, you know, the constraints around that, but at this point, we're basically just. The direction seemed to be, consensus seemed to be kind of tabling this discussion. Either indefinitely or until we do our strategic plan, but certainly until after the fair to have any more discussions about what we're gonna do. There's really no urgency for us. I think the consensus was that we were gonna charge down the path of our strategic plan more and figure out what our future is, not knowing that those things are uncertain for us, but start working on our strategic plan and then maybe that changes. And the feedback from the neighbors, changes what an updated plan would look like.
And then there's two aspects there. There's that, and then the work that Kyle is already doing. And we talked about that during the working session for changes to the rental agreements and some of the mitigating factors that they're working through. Some of them are already agreed to, with the people going in for this month, but we'll have some more discussions on that, and Kyle's gonna work through what options exist there.
And there is going to be a public notice put out where the next time we have a neighbors meeting, that there would be more than just 5 of us notified. An email for
Oh, yeah,
that.
the range was gonna be
Notice.
wider.
That was one of the notes that Gail definitely took down for
Mhm.
future hearings, basically public hearings that would be done, that they would expand that area.
But we are gonna have another meeting before any,
Yeah, so at this point, we're totally paused. We're not moving forward with anything.
right,
At the time that if we decide to do another go at the conditional use permit, that will go through another notice and there'll be a hearing scheduled and all that.
okay.
Okay, that clarifies that. Thank you. Yeah.
And then I think at that point, we're also addressing all the points you guys brought up. This is not, we discuss this every time we meet. I wish you guys would have been here in the beginning, because we did discuss it for about 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not gonna believe.
I'm just saying,
Public comment, I just wanna make sure we, on a technicality, we're recorded.
but I want you to know, we're very cognizant of what's going on.
I appreciate that.
And we're working hard to reach a goal with this, to do this right.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, we will move to the consent calendar. If someone would like to make an emotion.
Just so people know, if anyone wants to talk to me after the meeting, I'll still be here, so don't leave if you want to talk to someone. Or whoever, about what was talked about earlier, whatever you missed. But I'll make a motion to move to the next.
With the minutes from May 6th and May 7th.
So we'll need an approval for the consent calendar,
Oh,
for the meeting minutes from May and April meetings.
I make a motion to approve the May and April meeting minutes.
Oh, yeah, that's a typo.
I
Sorry.
was like, it says April.
Sorry, that should say May 7th. So,
Okay.
yes.
So May 6th and May 7th.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Move on to board member reports. Do we want to go down this list, or does each board member just want to go through? If we have something. Yeah, why don't we just go through down the way? Joel, do you want to start?
Well, we pretty much nailed down. I think we have a full event schedule at this point, don't we?
We do, and, so there's a little bit of budget left, but really dialing in what we have in place, and then if we have some dollars there, if we wanna add some other, like we talked about doing the little kid area, you know, there's some dollars for that, you know, we don't really have that figured out, but we have enough stuff that we have a good fair plan, good fair put together for entertainment.
And security and parking we haven't met. I mean, basically, that's just we already talked about parking and security, there isn't a ton of, we were going to talk about who's gonna help with parking down there. I don't know, did we ever find someone to help with parking? The sheriff's posse isn't around anymore, but
Yeah, so that is one of the, so when we meet in 2 weeks, to talk about before, I'll go over the security schedule.
perfect.
One of the things that we did add on to the security was then to have a parking person. But they're still going to be volunteers for them to help get all of that done, especially during the concert.
And then the last subcommittee I was in, well, that I just got added to, was the concert sponsorships. And I reached out to pretty much everyone on that list, and I either got no response at all, or I got this is not gonna happen this year, we're trying to avoid bankruptcy, or I got let me look through the list again, or people were saying like, let me read through the different tiers and stuff again. I haven't had a chance to look at it, so I got nothing there.
And they say generally it takes 9 times talking to a sponsor before you, that's just kind of the standard. I mean, there's people that usually do every year, but it's involved.
And I think it would be good for, if they're giving you a no, find out if there's a different time of the year, so maybe next year we might be able to put them on our schedule. I know I have one person on my list and they're like, very fat. And so they're like, not a good time. So seeing if we can figure out from a schedule perspective when we should actually target some of these sponsors going forward.
And also if they are a no, if they're just like, yeah, we don't really want to do that. I've had a couple people go that route, and I've offered maybe some other opportunities to have their banner hung up somewhere else. So if it's not a bankruptcy thing, then maybe some other opportunity would be beneficial for them. And you can let me know, I can help with that. At this time, I don't believe so.
I know we're sponsoring. Yep, so concert, Kyle and I met.
I'm on. On
Concert.
Team effort to work on
Yeah.
sponsors.
This is actually from that, 'cause that's actually one of the. Fun. Then, and draft is
This microphone will pick stuff up. And sometimes you gotta unplug stuff and plug it back in, I guess. Oh, there we go. It's picking. Oh, it's picking up the microphone from my laptop. If the transcript's getting it. Hello. Are you getting that? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I think that's done with all of our board reports, managers report. Hi.
Yeah, so we'll need to get an opening act for Jackie. The budget on that will be pretty low. There's a lot of bands interested in playing on this stage. So I'll find someone that's appropriate that will fit along with that. We need to get a second RV still. So if any of you know somebody that might be interested in renting us an RV for the night of the concert, it's basically a second room for the opening act. I've looked at it before, but that's a pretty busy weekend. And
It's also nice just to know whose it is and have a local and be able to
yeah,
maybe do some sort of trade-off is what we've done in the past.
and so we're
The ones, I know there's some really close to Fort Stevens. It's kind of.
and I can look at it and see if there's anything available. Last year when I had looked on there was nothing for the week of our fair. It was really nothing 3 weeks on either side of that being. It's used for like a dressing room for the opening act. It is Thomas Mack, yeah. Yeah. Right. And I mean, they're really only in there for a couple hours. They come in for sound check and they kind of have that space. And then typically they leave after sound check and they come back for the performance. They're there for the opening act and then they're out of there. They're heading back to their hotel room. I did talk with the insurance about the marksman thing. We talked about what we want to do. They said, "Oh, that sounds good." They were going to run it by the insurance because they're the middleman, they're the risk agent and the insurance. But there is the extra coverage that we have to pay for, so it is going to cost us an additional on our premium. But they were fine with us doing it at this point.
So with that, I'm going to add on to that really quick. In Warrenton, there is a Scouts Troop 509 that is going to be doing a tomahawk throwing with a Scouts BSA certified range master. Don't know who that is,
Yeah.
but that might be something to get a hold of them to help out with that.
What you said, Troop
509.
I don't know exactly how booked up that spot is. It's already gonna be do they throw tomahawks at the same type of wood they're an axe throwing contest? They do, I mean, it's already set up.
Yeah.
There's really great.
But it sounds like there's a really good parent group and they're certified range masters. That would be ideal. I feel like to have some help with that.
Yeah.
So
Great.
I did confirm with the chainsaw folks. We do need to get some wood though. We have to get 16 4-foot chunks of redwood between 16 and 24 inches
What?
for the chainsaw art. Yeah. They'll do 4 shows a day and they need a 4-foot chunk for each show.
And can we raffle off the?
They're ours to keep. Yeah. So then we can do whatever we want with those. I mean, it's a great sponsorship opportunity if somebody wanted to donate and I need to have a follow-up conversation with her about what they carve. But that was one of the questions that I had for her was if we get a sponsor, can you do like their logo or something like that? As part of one of the shows.
And it has to be redwood?
She said it's cedar, redwood. Yeah. That was another follow-up question that I asked her though was, are there other types of wood that would be acceptable? 16 to 24. He did say if they were on the larger side, the 24 side, that they could potentially do 2 shows out of one of the 4-foot chunks.
If you let me know what kind of wood, talk to people, the lady you had, Farmhouse Funk, she has a logging company.
And you said 18 inches minimum diameter.
16 to 24.
Oh, I thought you meant 16 to 24 quantity. How
No,
many-
16 quantity.
Okay.
I'll send you guys the email with the details.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we could do that.
Uh,
There's probably plenty of sponsors around this area that'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, like I said, I was working with a couple of coffee folks, hoping a couple of beverage folks but this company that was here at the car show this weekend, they said they would be happy to do it and they filled out their application and that is checked off of the list. Yeah, the volunteers, the outreach. I know Kiwanis is definitely interested. I said we've got gates, parking, inflatables, and concert. Those are really our big things, but we'll put together more of a detailed list of what we need for volunteers. And we have some radio ads going, some digital ads that'll be firing up. We've been marketing on the Coast Weekend handouts for the Sunday Market, Scandinavian Festival, Crab Fest, all that. But we'll need to start getting some flyers out, and getting the sponsors on the flyers is the key piece at this point. Rolling into normal managers update. That's not the fair. The levy passed, so that's good. I think the final number was like 67. I mean, they haven't finalized the results yet. They won't be certified until the 16th, but it was around 67, 68% approval on the levy. We're chugging through with recruitment. I kind of alluded to the issue with Job Corps. Our seasonal was here with Job Corps. We were unsure if he was going to be able to continue working. And then he called and said, moving out of the area. We're all moving off of the center. So he's not here right now. I did interview another applicant last Thursday. He's accepted an offer to start on the 16th. So we have a seasonal starting on the 16th. I have another seasonal interview tomorrow, and we'll see how that plays out. We had 26 applicants for Kelly's position. Narrowed that down to the top 4. We're doing those interviews on Thursday morning. So it's really going to depend on their schedules and, on whoever ends up getting selected. I think the main goal that we're going to insist on is by July 1st, but hopefully we can get them here before then.
So we're only hiring 1 full-time and then 1 seasonal.
We'll hire up to 4 seasonals. Typically we hire 1 or 2. I mean, it's been 1 in the past because we haven't had a lot of people applying for the seasonal position, to work basically now through August. And then we'll hire a couple more to work just for the week of the fair. They're really just here during the fair. So up to 4.
Did we do anything for Kyle or
Kelly?
for Kelly?
I got him a card, and I sat down and I talked with him. I gave him some treats, but I mean, I didn't give him like a medal or anything, but I talked with him. I really told him his appreciation. And I mean, he worked up to the flipping minute that he left. He was out mowing covered in grass. came back up, I chatted with him, and then he grabbed his cooler, hopped in his truck, and rode away. I think he's like, it's gonna be weird. It is gonna be weird, but I really appreciated him, and tried to give him all of that positive feedback for the last 2 weeks he was here for sure. Just how much he'll be missed and how valuable he was when he was here. But yeah, he's Kelly. Um, John did provide me some facility comps that he was working on. It's really just getting the information from a lot of the other counties that are kind of in our range. And so I've got a big stack of those just with all of the stuff between the roof and everything else going on. I haven't had time to sit down and like copy the data into a way that's going to be easy to look at, but that's definitely a goal, is to work on those facility comps. It'll help us as we're talking about how much security should cost, how much deposit should cost, how much our rental spaces should cost, and all that. So it's something that's in the works. It's going to be tough to put a lot of effort into it between now and the fair, but we're chugging away on that. Yeah, that's the big stuff that I have for the update. We're going to be in this period of time here over the next 3 weeks that we've got 2 people here. The seasonal we had's gone. We're going to have a new seasonal starting, and then we'll have to get them caught up. Rod from the juvenile department has been out here every day this week. He doesn't work on Fridays because it's working now. So he'll be out here as much as he can, unless he has to do other transports, but he can help us with mowing and cleaning restrooms and stuff in the meantime. The buildings and grounds department has said that they can help us as well, but give them some lead time if we're going to need them. So it's not like, can you come out right now? It's, can you come out in a couple days? We have some things we need help with. It's still uncertain. I mean, Job Corps is not coming anymore, but they really helped us with that floor. And so Scandinavian Festival is going to be the weekend of the 20th, and then right after that we'll have to get the floor up. I don't know exactly where we're going to get manpower from that, if it's from the buildings and grounds department, or if we'll have to hire some temps or something for a day to come in and help us get that done.
Put that out on their schedule now.
On the buildings and grounds, yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's my report.
I have a question. I haven't been back that way, but the stalls that we bought, are they out in the weather still? Are they in a barn?
They are propped up in all of the spots that we have that are appropriate for them to be stacked up. We didn't get them installed when Kelly was here. We were working on a game plan. We have a pretty solid game plan for how we were going to get the ones in barn C. But the ones in barn A, there's a whole bunch of, it all has to be demoed before we can put it in. Right now, what my current plan to do is move some of those ecology blocks along the side of barn C and stack them there until we get through the fair. And then we'll work on getting them installed afterwards. Depending on who we hire and how many seasonals we have, it'll make the difference on what it's going to take to get those in.
I think if we don't get them in before winter, we definitely make sure that they get under cover.
Yeah, for sure. I think, once the fair's over, we can move all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Wherever. Getting them in was definitely a goal. And then Kelly went on vacation and came back and said he was retiring. So we didn't get him in.
Okay, and then the other thing I had was I talked to the gal that did the paintings at the school. And so she is interested in doing it. I'm going to take pictures of the bathrooms before I leave, and figure out what it would be for her to do those, and then talk about that and see what we want to do. If that's the direction everyone wants to go.
I'm all for it with Dingy in there.
That's
Oh,
board,
yeah, get the bids.
I think
board discussion.
we're in the manager's report, right? So.
Yeah, I mean,
let's keep on subject.
I mean, I'm done.
It's done. That's why I jumped in.
Is it on the
Okay,
agenda?
so we'll go ahead and move on if we are ready to go to the business agenda. Or the
Yeah, so this would just be kind of taking the formal action on what we talked about at the work session. Um, we had the 5 bids. Coastline was the low bid, but they are apparently unresponsive because they didn't specify the correct product. So, I think I had a motion in there.
So I move to reject the Coastline bid, to proceed with the next lowest bidder, Pacific Tech, and direct the fair manager to negotiate any appropriate value engineering.
All in favor? All opposed? All right, motion carries. Jump down. No one has any discussion.
Hey, yeah, so at the May meeting, we went over the strategic plan, scope of work update. Gail was here. We talked about it. It seemed like the updates that Gail had made were in line with the comments from the work session we had in February, I think it was. Maybe it was March. And so this is bringing it back to take action on moving forward with this strategic plan. And then Jay is here, of course, from the planning department. If you had any questions, and he'll take notes back to Gail, but she's on vacation this week, so she couldn't be here.
I don't see any reason in delaying this. So if anybody doesn't have any questions, I move to approve the scope of work. Clatsop County Planning Department develop a updated strategic plan for the fair and expo.
All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. And our last item on the business agenda, which is the Fair Board applicants. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, so at the work session on May 28th, we had the county board interviewed the 4 applicants. We have the 2 vacancies. They're ready to appoint next Wednesday at their regular meeting, but they would like input and feedback from you all. I know most of you were able to attend the meeting, and then I sent you all the links for the video. I've included their applications in here. Your staff is asking you guys think about what the needs are on the fair board and which of these candidates would best fill those needs. And if you have direction as a board that you can provide, I will forward that on and it'll go to the county commissioners for them to make the appointments.
Okay, do we want to go down the line and say who we would like to appoint and then make a motion? If we can, if not, have a discussion and then a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, Joel, do you want to start?
Yeah, to me, it was pretty clear who was the best applicant. Abby was definitely the most, first of all, enthusiastic, but also she seems, I've talked to her personally about this in the past, and we definitely are pretty aligned on the future of the fairgrounds. And, she's got 2 kids and I got a kid on the way. And the whole reason I came to want to be on the board is because I want to make sure that the fair is not here. What can we do to make more money for a year or 2? But I want to make sure that we're here for 30 years, and she has that same idea in mind. And so I would like to work with someone like that. And on top of that, she's had to deal with difficult situations quite a bit in her normal job on how to work through problems like what we have with the neighbors and stuff. So I think she'd be good at that. And so I definitely stand behind Abby as the #1 choice.
Give another one. With
Oh,
Bruce,
I thought we
have,
were only doing on one of them.
originally we were, but then Bruce left, so we have
So we
another.
are trying to get both of them right
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
Oh, great. I didn't
That's
even
okay.
prepare a second.
That's okay. No worries. We can keep on rolling if you want. They do have their stuff in there. If you want to look through it really quick while we're going down the line.
My #1 was Chinnery. I think she provided a lot from her experience with event planning, marketing, and the relationship she already has within the fair area. And then #2 was Abigail as well. I think some of the similar reasons that she.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, my two are Stephanie Pedraza and Abigail Goodman. The reason for Stephanie is because of her deep involvement in 4-H, because that is the emphasis of this board. I think she said 20+ years. She's born and raised here. Same with Abigail Goodman. I appreciate someone born and raised and her background in the analyst permitting stuff. Looking for her wide range of understanding how to read some of these maybe boring boring things that some of us don't necessarily appreciate reading. I think she has a better view on.
John?
After, looking at the needs of what we need, I think that, Chinnery or Catherine Lipkin is probably my number one. I think the event planning, her connection with all the media people, not only locally, but in Portland, which is important because we're not really touching Portland for media, for, a lot of our stuff. I think this would help quite a bit. And then Abigail, was my second choice for the second thing. Again, she has the event planning and things like that we really need. We can we need help with. So that's where I'm at with that.
Okay.
And I'd like to put my number 2 as Stephanie Pedraza.
So my two are Stephanie Pedraza and Abigail Goodman as well. So I think we are on a consensus of Abby with all 5 of us. So if you want to mark her down, and then we need to either discuss or vote for the other 2. I know we have 3 with Pedraza and then 2 with the other one.
Yeah, I think the concern I have with Stephanie didn't come across as having a lot of experience or functions, and what I heard her say is we just want to do more of what we're doing now, those types of things. So that one, and then just having a balance on people bringing 4-H experience, which Abigail does, which is great, and then people bringing in experience from the non-4-H world or from bringing outside experience that they can add to this board. So I think that, to me, I think that's the really that I call out is having 2 more 4-H isn't, what I'm hearing a lot of that's the priority. I think bringing in people with a lot of experience that can add to what the board maybe has gaps. And I don't think we have a lot of 4-H gaps. That's kind of where one area I'd like to focus on that.
I have to agree with what you said. I think that where we really need help is event planning and media, because none of us really are media experts. I think we need that deep experience from somebody that's done this for years and years and years to help us, because we do really kind of a pretty poor job of ourselves, broadcasting what we do here. And I think that with the staff we have, they're so overworked right now. They can't concentrate on this, and bringing somebody in with this experience, I think, is really necessary for us, our survival.
What I have to say is I know that familiar faces mean a lot to people around here, and I know that Stephanie is a familiar face in this county for sure, with a lot of connections, and it might be beneficial to have some of those kind of connections. And when it comes time for stuff like sponsorships, I think she would be pretty encouraging to a lot of people, especially your vendors and stuff. Anyways, she's been in the county her whole life, versus the other 2 that maybe aren't really, that haven't been here forever, So to me, the connection is pretty important. And on top of that, she does run a business, so she knows how to manage, obviously.
Okay. Have anything to add?
Well, piggyback off of him. I think in Clatsop County, we're very unique in that we're kind of like the end of the world in some ways. And to compare us to Multnomah County is probably an incorrect way of the approach of approaching the people of this county. So I think it's really important to focus on those that would like to invest in the county that they've lived their whole life.
I think you've misunderstood me. our approach for having somebody that knows the Portland area and the media in the Portland area will get our events advertised in the Portland area. And the Portland area is the television stations that cover us. We don't get any television coverages here, radio coverages here. If we have people in the media with the radio groups or TV groups, I think it'll give us the needed boost in advertising. A lot of the people that come to the Crab Festival come from Portland. A lot of the vendors come from Portland. I understand the importance of local, but how's it working for us right now? Local is not working for us. Our fair is dying right now. And I'm just kind of scared where we're going to go. We really need to have somebody that has the reach of more of a global reach, not to advertise to, not to belittle somebody who's been in town, but the experience of somebody who's an experienced salesperson and has these contacts with the media is invaluable. And it's something if we lose it, we're going to be paying the price down the road. That's all.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We will go ahead and, go ahead if someone would like to make a motion.
A motion to vote on the second person for the fair.
Let me say, and just to be clear, you guys are providing direction to the county board.
So Joel, if you.
Or
this page here,
providing input.
it would say.
Yeah.
Provide the following input to the county board of commissioner on the applicants, and then you can say the two applicants.
I move to provide the
Well,
following.
I recommend we pause on that. We might want to break that up if you're gonna look for alignment.
That's
Break it up for one part.
Okay.
Okay, I move to provide the following input to the county board of commissioner on the applicants one at a time. So I move to vote in Abigail Goodman as one of the applicants
That we recommend
to the county.
A second.
Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all opposed? Motion carries.
I move to make the second applicant recommendation be for the fair board be for Stephanie Pedraza.
Okay. Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all opposed?
Okay.
Okay, so we have 3 versus 2, so it carries. Is that correct?
That's, yeah.
Okay. All right. We will move on to the finance report.
Yeah, so this is in the packet is the report through April. And so if you guys have any questions on that, we are getting down to the wire on the fiscal year. And we don't have a ton of expenses that come out this time of the year. It's really as we're rolling into the fair, but we will have some projects that we're trying to wrap up, and get done as we get through June. Trying to use up some of our general supplies dollars to just stock up on inventory basically at the end of the fiscal year. We try to stock up everything in the cabinets, all the paper products, bags, and all of that. We had some equipment purchases. We want to buy some tables, and so we'll use some of those dollars to purchase some tables before the end of the fiscal year. We voted on what types of tables we would go to, but it was really depending on how much money was in the budget to start buying. But as we're starting to replace them, we decided what type of tables we were going to start using. So if you have any questions on the finance report,
Don't need to do anything on that.
it's just basically keeping you guys in the loop on the fiscal piece.
Okay. Sounds good. I will want to mention, maybe or putting the budget of some sort of looking to do something with that arena to the outside, looking at what that's gonna cost to potentially do that in the
I think
future.
definitely that's the whole point. One of the main points of the strategic plan is to develop a capital improvement program.
Perfect. All right. So if we don't have anything else on that, we can go down the line to go to the order. Anything? Nothing? Okay.
Can I ask a question? During go to the order?
Yeah.
What's the car show?
I think, well, they were really happy. They had a lot of cars here. There was a lot of people here. I think the rain kind of affected them a little bit, but probably not nearly as much as it would have at Camp Rylea. Yeah, they were really happy. Again, they think they maybe had a little bit of a dip in their attendance. They definitely had a few cars that didn't show up because they didn't want to drive them here, but there was still a lot of cars. It was packed. I actually took a full 360 video through the whole thing, so I have a pretty good documentation of it, and I think it's something that will be really good for us to move forward and try to market. You know, seeing what the cars look like in there with the floor down. If we can get Corvette show, Jeep show, VW, motorcycles type stuff, we've got some good photos that we can use to try to move forward with that.
Be cool to start putting those types of things together to start doing like daily posts on Facebook so that our stuff starts bumping up, because you'll make a post and you won't see it because of the algorithm of everything. So if we can start posting daily, we will start jumping feeds a whole lot more.
For sure. And, you know, especially with those events, it's tough because they don't provide us with anything. So,
but if you did like a 360, video,
yeah, now I have it. Yeah. 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 That's,
there's different things that we can come up with
yeah.
So just an idea.
Yeah, for sure. And we definitely are really needing to start with the fair stuff, hitting them very regularly, moving into the fair. So there's going to be a lot of activity here happening with the fair. But yeah, talking about our events is part of the story. I feel like that was something we heard with the applicants. Is like there needs to be more happening at the fairgrounds. Like, well, we're booked every weekend until Christmas. It's just there's a lot of events that people they're not promoting them very well, so people don't really know everything that's happening out here.
So, have you thought about taking it and putting it on the website? Events and just event type thing on the website?
We do. We have the upcoming events on our website.
This is past events. This is some of the things we've done.
Yeah. I mean, I hadn't thought of that, but we can. The dog show was they were very happy as well. Like they actually have some stuff for the good order, myself for some of these events, but they're wanting to come back. I mean, I guess I can just get into that.
Asking them too to provide us like some sort of.
We do.
Okay.
Yeah. Not only do we ask them that, we ask them to provide us information on their event so we can be ready for them. And it's often the week of that we finally get the details from these
But do we
events.
ask them for like a review?
Like an afterwards.
Yeah.
We do give them the checkout form that asks them to provide us feedback. And we very rarely get anything from people.
I think even like that touch base, it takes 9 times for a sponsorship.
Right.
Having a few different times to be able to say, hey, we would love to,
And even when they come in to drop the keys off, we try to get feedback from them. And very often they say, we're going to send you something. And then we don't see anything. I mean, we're constantly asking people for it, but we just don't get it from them. Yeah. I mean, that's done a lot with vendors, especially, requiring the vendors to do it.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like once it starts happening.
Forget the website.
I do have to say that this morning there was a Facebook page that popped up, people who know, and it said Clatsop Fair, so there might be a scam out.
Oh, okay, good to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think if John's done, you're good.
Yeah, so just wanted to provide some good feedback we got. We've had, lots and lots of events lately, and some of them have responded back with some good stuff. The Napa school did their prom. They sent us a nice thank you card, thanking for providing them with a great venue and helping set up with our events and being good overall hosts. And then this was a wedding reception on the 17th. Wedding reception was wonderful. Everything went according to plan. Everyone had a great time. Twinkle lights you guys have up received so many compliments. We're a crowd favorite. That really made the venue warm and fun. I only have great things to say about the venue facility. Everything we needed was readily available. Kitchen was organized. Everything was easy to find. We could not have had our reception at a better place. So thank you. And then the fly ball group. We had a great weekend. I think our tournament was really a successful one and a ton of positive feedback. Everyone loved the venue and the camping area, which was unheard of. I wanted to check in and see if there was anything we forgot to do. Let me see. Yeah. That's just some chatter. Thank you and Kyle for all your flexibility with the club. Feeling fortunate to have found you guys in the beautiful fairgrounds. Kelly was also super helpful and amazing on Friday. Wanted to extend our gratitude to your whole crew. Every step was well communicated, thought out, and just a great experience. So yeah, thought that was some good stuff for the good order for you guys to hear that people are happy with our venue.
If we get a thank you card from like Napa School, maybe we could take a picture of that and do like a little Facebook thing and say, you know, all we have to do is ask them, say, hey, can we post this? And just say, thank you, Napa Prom, for it can be so simple and easy. Thank you, Napa Prom, for hosting your prom at the blah, 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 blah. We have a wedding. We just ask them, hey, can we post, you know, congratulations on your marriage. Thanks for hosting it at blah, 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 blah. And I mean, it can be so super simple, easy, just one quick little thing. But the more we're in it, the more it's going to pop up.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, we just need another 5 hours a day. Who runs our Facebook account?
Kristen and I both do the posts.
Maybe one of us, whoever would like to take on the social media, would like to post some of that stuff on there to take some off for you guys.
If there's anything that you guys want shared at any time, you can send it to us
So
and we can post it.
What I try to do is I put together some like the pictures and all of that, and I will send it to them, and then they'll post it.
There are some pretty specific, you know, public records stuff and social media policies that, and it sounded like there was a Fairs Association meeting today, and you know there was talks about this recent legislation even getting deeper into even your personal accounts connected when you're talking about your role as a public official or public employee. So it's a little tricky. We want to try to keep, but if you send us stuff and it's appropriate, we'll certainly share it. If you've done all the work, it's ready to go. Right? Yeah. Right. Yeah, I would add maybe another thing on good of the order that wasn't on the agenda that came up at the Fairs Association. While the bill hasn't been signed yet, they're pretty confident that what the governor's budget had in it for the increase on the fairs distribution is going to go through. So that would mean double what we're getting now. We get about 53,000 right now. So we should expect to at least see double that. Again, the bill hasn't signed, the ink's not dry. There still is a lot of conversation going on about the House Bill 2304 that would get it to that full 1% of the lottery funds. It didn't sound like there was much optimism that that was going to pass in the next 3 weeks, but it's also not dead. So, well, a lot of the other stuff is definitely dead already. The Fairs Association is holding a legislative dinner tonight, so maybe they'll get that over the hump today. I don't know, but they said we should at least expect to see something, even if it's not the full 1%.
Okay. Awesome. All right, we don't have anything else. We are all done at 7:11.
Thank you.